Okay, guys, we're going to continue on with the CD collection. I think this is part 31, still in the C's, obviously. We did make it past CO. We finished the CO section up in the last video. We're into CR. First up, we have Cradle of Filth with Vampire. This is, or V Empire, or Dark Fairy Tales and Palestine. When I was first getting into Cradle of Filth, this was a release that was almost impossible to find. Late 90s, early 2000s, you could not get your hands on this release at all. If you ever did see it for sale, it was super expensive. So I'm glad that the times have changed a little bit, and this was now you can find this fairly cheap. A lot of people have there's a lot of mixed feelings out there about Cradle of Filth, and I get it. I mean, I know it's not for everybody. There are some that feel that it's kind of gateway, too accessible style black metal. I mean, and I can understand that argument, but I do dig a lot of their material, and just listen to what you like. It's not a basis on something just because I don't like something, or some other YouTuber or reviewer or somebody out there doesn't like something. If you like it, listen to it. It doesn't matter what I think or anybody else thinks. I have this 2 disc little box set here, Cradle of Filth. It's Cruelty and the Beast and Dusk in Her Embrace. Probably my 2 favorite actual full lengths from the band. If anybody is this box set has become a little more difficult to pick up. If someone is looking for this box set and you have something to trade or offer up for it, get at me. We might be able to make a deal just for the simple fact of what I'll show you in just a second. But I know it's a bit more difficult to get your hands on this box set now. I know it was when I got it. I don't know if it still is or not. I'll do some research, but if you've got something if you're interested in this and want to offer up something to trade or that type deal, I would definitely be open to moving this one. Just for the simple fact that I have the 4 CD slipcase box set from Cradle of Filth that also has the Cruelty and the Beast and the Dusk and Her Embrace CDs in this one as well. So the other, I mean, I don't know. I may hang on to it just for collector scum reasons, but I could be open to moving that 2 CD box set. This one has the Cruelty and the Beast double disc. It has the bonus CD or EP or just a little bonus material on this one that has the Hallowed Be Thy Name cover song, which is pretty good, very catchy. I know. And the disc fell out. This CD case has seen better days, but I'll just hold it like that. There you go. And then Midian, which is another pretty strong release. One of the reasons I went ahead and grabbed this box set, just because it had the Cruelty and the Beast bonus and the Midian album in it, so it was nice to add those into the collection. And then this one is one that I'm kind of hit or miss on. I don't really find myself reaching for this one too long. It's the Lovecraft and Witch Hearts double album or double disc album. Probably some of the weaker of the Cradle of Filth material that I actually own. Just, I don't know. I'm not just super keen on this one. I may have to revisit. I haven't listened to that in a long time, though, to be completely honest. And then it came in this. I don't think I spent much time on the actual box. And I got this for next to nothing. I've seen this selling online for a pretty hefty price tag, and I got this. I think it was somewhere around $15 shipped that I got this for. So I thought that was a bit of a steal. There was no way I was turning that down when I saw it come up for sale. I was saying that Lovecraft and Witch Hearts is probably some of the weaker. This is probably the weakest Cradle of Filth that I still have in the collection. This is Thornography. I was not big on this album at all. There's a couple high points here and there, but not something that I find myself returning to very often. Then again, it's been quite a long time since I've listened to this one as well. I may one day throw that in, revisit that, and think it's the best thing I've ever heard. And then I have a couple of the, I guess you could call it the newer releases. I have the Manticore and Other Horrors. This one is passable. I mean, it's okay, but nothing just groundbreaking or super memorable for me on this particular release. And then we have one that is absolutely phenomenal. It is definitely the best latter era Cradle of Filth full length, and it could rival probably any of their other full lengths in my opinion. And this is Hammer of the Witches. I was blown away. I wasn't even gonna even check this one out when it came out. I was kind of past that point of checking out new Cradle of Filth stuff, and people kept telling me you got to listen to this album. You've got to, and I finally broke down and listened to it, and I was floored by how much I like this. I'm not gonna pan it in too close because some of that artwork would probably get the video flagged, but it is a stellar release. Almost like some little thrashy vibes going on in that one as well. But I mean, it has some good riffs and a pretty solid album. I'm very pleased and thankful that people told me to check that one out. Next up, this is a brutal death metal project off of Gorehouse. This is Cranial Engorgement with Prelude to Horror. This is just a little 4-track EP. Technically, I guess 3 tracks because you have an intro track on this as well. It's pretty good. They had a full length that came out, I think, last year or year before. I know their full length hasn't been out too long. I don't own that, but it is a very good full length. This is decent. I mean, it's not something that, with it being so short and only just a few tracks, it's not groundbreaking or anything, but it is a decent slab of brutal death metal there from Cranial Engorgement. Next up, we have Cranial Implosion, more death metal. This was a Severed Records and Cemetery, Rotten Cemetery, Severed Records like dual release. This one is entitled Lost on Dead Dominions. Pretty good, straightforward, leans to that brutal death metal style. Pretty good here as well. I think this is one that I already owned when I got that Severed Records grab bag, but I think this was in that as well. I know I referenced that Severed grab bag quite often, but it was a 100 CDs in that grab bag, so they will be scattered throughout this collection as we go through it. But that one's pretty good as well. I think they're out of I'm wanting to say they're out of Chile, so pretty good slab of South American death metal there. Next up, we have some Black and Thrash. This is Craven Idol with Towards Eschaton. Very good release here. I own their the Shackles of Mammon or Shackles of Mammon full length as well, but it is on an LP. It's a vinyl, so it will not be shown in these CD collection. They released an album this year that I do not own yet, but I've heard some really good things about. I've only heard bits and pieces, but what I've heard has been some killer stuff, so I may have to go on and get my hands on that new full length as well. But most times when you see that Dark Descent logo on a release like that, you know you're in for a good ride anyway. Next up, I've had so many copies of this come into my collection, in my possession, that I've moved on to other people and done giveaways for, and I don't know why it gets moved around so much, because this is a pretty solid little slab of death grind. This is Created to Kill with Death's Construction. I really dig this. It leans a bit more to the death metal side of things as opposed to the grind side, but there are some definite death grind elements going on in this as well. The riffage on this is very good. They have some other material this band does, and it doesn't quite stack up to this full length, but this one is phenomenal. This was released on Horror, Pain, Gore, Death. So if you've done one of those little grab bags that they put out over time, you probably got your hands on one of these as well. I'd be interested if you guys like this as much as I did, because I thought this I thought the riffing on this was quite good for what it is. The production value is a little iffy, but the album as a whole is very, very good. Next up, this is a fun release. This is some more kind of black and thrash. This is an EP that came out last year. I think they've only released this one EP and then a single that came out a little bit after this EP. I am still waiting for a full length, hopefully. But this is kind of horror themed. It kind of almost has that like 80s Fright Night, 80s horror themes going on in this. It's very fun. This is Creep Show with Bump in the Night. It's only 5 tracks. Don't let the if you look at the album artwork and you see the guys in his little denim jacket with the patches, don't let the patches put you off on this. I mean, he's got the Machine Head patch and Megadeth, and I don't know. It's very generic looking patches and stuff. Usually when I look at a band and I kind of look at the shirts and stuff that they're wearing, and that would almost put me off before I even listen to this. But don't let it do that. This is a very fun release. I dug this quite a bit. I featured this on a 7 Deadly Spins at one point last year as well, but it is a very fun listen. It's a short, but it's fun. Sorry, it's early and the voice is not wanting to cooperate today. Next up, we have a Crematorium with For All Our Sins. Looking at this, you kind of, from the artwork and the vibe that gives off, you kind of get a feel of what this is. I've heard it described as sludgecore. It's kind of a hardcore. It's got some death metal, doomy death vibes going on. A lot of almost there's some crowbar worship going on in this album, absolutely. So it kind of has that sludgy vibe down pat. This is a very front heavy album. I don't find myself making it all the way through very often. The first half of this album is very good, and then it just kind of loses me. The whole feel of the album kind of changes about halfway through, and I don't know. I'm not as keen. I guess I'm not as keen on the final half of the album as I am on the first, but the first half is pretty good. Next up, we have German goth metal. They started out as death metal and kind of swapped to goth, this very goth metal sounding style with this album, and it was an album that turned a lot of people off, so obviously it's going to be the album that I like the best. This is Crematory with Awake. This is when the band kind of shifted focus into the more gothic sound, and I dig this quite a bit. This came out, it's been 1997. I knew it had been out for many, many years on Nuclear Blast. Good stuff here. I want to dig a little deeper into their discography. I want to check out some of that earlier kind of death metal leaning stuff. I imagine those albums are ridiculously expensive at this point, but I can still maybe pull up some YouTube and at least check it out at some point. The only other release that I own from Crematory is Infinity, and this came, I think, in a grab bag or something. And this, I mean, that album came out in '97. This one came out in 2012. So there has been a lot of longevity behind this project. So I think when something's been around that long, it definitely warrants me digging a little deeper into the material. At some point, I do plan on doing that. This one is a very catchy album. This one is much more catchy than Awake. They've kind of embraced that gothy, gothic metal sound and just ran with it, I guess, over the years. And this is kind of what they morphed to. The continuity on this is a little off. It doesn't flow particularly well. It just feels like a bunch of copy and paste tracks put together, but it's still, I mean, it's still a pretty decent listen. Next up, this is a black and death metal project. I think they're out of Canada. This is Cremation with Black Death Cult. This is a compilation of the band, almost the entire all of the material that this band has recorded. I think it has 3 of their 4 demos on this. They've never released a full length or anything. This was released on Nuclear War Now, and I don't even know if this band's around anymore. That artwork is very, very dark. I know you're not probably picking that up. There you can kind of see the back. Those are the 3 demos, and then if you look real close, you might be able to see the track listings up under that. But I'm sitting right here, and I can barely see it just because of the font and the and what have you. And this one, I guess it does have it may have the 4th demo on it as well, because it has the death up there, kind of in its own little section. That was the very, very first release that they put out, and I just dropped that disc as well. But there we go, pretty good blackened death metal. Looking at it now, I think it does probably have I can't remember. I can't remember if it has that other demo on it or not. It's been a while since I listened to that, but it's pretty good. Black and Death, regardless. Next up, we have this came from a HP GD grab bag as well. This is Crepitus with the Vile Vortex. I think this is a band out of California, if my memory serves me correct. Straightforward death metal, has some thrashy vibes here and there going on in this as well, but nothing just groundbreaking or out, I don't even know what word I'm looking for. Just nothing super standoutish, I guess, on this release. I mean, it's decent, but it's just run of the mill kind of thrashy death metal, which, I mean, that's okay. There's a time and a place to listen to that as well. It's got some decent riffs on that, but there's nothing just super memorable. Speaking of not super memorable, when I pulled this one and was getting ready for this video, I didn't remember this at all. I didn't know what it was or what to expect. This also came from Horror Pain Gore Death, so I'm assuming it came in one of those grab bags. And obviously, I mean, there's probably a reason I don't remember it. This is Crepuscolo with a Revolution Evolution. And the more I got to looking at this, it just like it was like a train wreck. It just the worse it got. Apparently, this is death metal / deathcore out of Italy, and I think this particular release came out in 2014. But I mean, I don't know. There's nothing that's drawing me to want to even revisit this just by looking at. I mean, the artwork and stuff is terrible on this. I assume that I probably listened to it and just shelved it and forgot about it. But I know I've listened to it at least once. The stuff that is out of the plastic that is on the CD shelves have been listened to at least once, but I don't remember anything about it. Next up, we have Cretin with Stranger. This is another one of those albums that I am thankful that I've done so many grab bags and mystery boxes and that type deal, because this is something that I probably never would have checked out on my own, especially with that artwork that just doesn't scream to me as something that I would like to check out. But this is a nice little slab of death grind. This album is pretty good. The one that came out before this is also pretty good, but it just has this almost repulsion feel going on within this release. That font, that blurry font on the disc there is throwing the camera for a little bit of a loop, kind of making it go blurry. Good stuff there. Luke, death metal fan, told me that I was going to enjoy that one when he saw it, and he was absolutely right, because that was a very good release. Next up, we have some generic hardcore. This is Crime in Stereo with Crime in Stereo is Dead. This is I just picture a bunch of hardcore guys holding hands and and screaming about unity when I see this album. And I mean, that's just kind of how I feel about hardcore. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time. Very generic, just run of the mill hardcore. I mean, it will definitely scratch that itch if that's something that I'm wanting to listen to. But obviously, it's not something that I'm just going to gravitate towards all the time. All right, next up, this is another band. I think this band is out of Chile as well. There's a lot of albums in this particular section that came out in 1997 for some reason. This one was released on Metal Blade Records. Thrashy death metal, has some groove metal elements going on in it as well. A lot of people don't really much care for this band. I really enjoy this album. This is Criminal with Dead Soul. As I was saying, it's kind of this thrashy death metal slash groove metal hybrid. I know some people just don't much care for groove metal, but I think it's a phenomenal release. Dig this one quite a bit. It's been in the collection forever now as well. But stoked to still have a copy of that. Then I have the same band. This is Criminal with Acolaire, and this was released in 2012. So I only own two of their albums. One that came out in 97, and then one that came out in 15 years later. So this one's pretty good. I think I'm partial to the Dead Soul release that's in my collection. They have other material in their discography as well, but these are the only two that I personally own. So they've obviously been the two that have gotten the most playtime for me. So out of the two, I will lean towards Dead Soul, but this one's pretty good as well. This one doesn't, to me, rely as heavy on the kind of groove sound that can be found in the Dead Soul album. And then the last two that I will show in this video are both from the same project. This is Criminal Element, and this is the Crime and Punishment 2 EP. Obviously, they had a Crime and Punishment 1 EP that was released before this, but I don't have that one. This came in that huge Severed. I know I've referenced that so many times in these collection videos already, but this is another that came from that huge Severed Records grab bag. It was 100 CDs. I know that you guys have probably already seen it if you're watching this. If you haven't, I'm just going to go ahead and link that up in the description as well if you'd like to go check out all the stuff that came in that huge grab bag, because I mean it's like an hour of me opening up brutal death metal and death metal albums that I have not heard before. Criminal Element, pretty fun death grind. Out of the two releases of theirs that I own, this full length Criminal Crime Time is probably my favorite. This is just, I guess, a little promo copy. This was thrown in with an order that I made for something else, and this turned out to be one of my favorite things that I received in that whole order. It was not what I intended on getting, and then I listened to this, and the stuff that I ordered in that order just kind of got put on the back burner while I sat back and enjoyed this release. It's fun. It's definitely a fun release, and it's just it's chaotic, but it's a great stuff. So there we have it. That's all for part 31, or yeah, I think this is 31, 30, 31, somewhere along in there. I'm going to try to get back in the groove. I say that every time and something happens and I just kind of fall out of doing the videos. I'm going to try to keep the run going. I like having the steady content coming for you guys on this channel. That's all for today. Stay classy, and I will see you soon.